Welcome to the Mom as Well podcast. We're digging deep into the gifts and the gaps of foster and adoptive parenting. I'm Tara Hutton, and I'm glad you're here.
Mama's Well.
Yes, she is. Well, I am super excited about my guest today. She is someone that the second I heard her voice on the phone, I just wanted to sit down at her feet and just soak in all that she had to share with me. She has so much to bring to the table, and I'm thrilled to have her here. But let me tell you a little bit about what I know about this lady. She has spent 40 years working with children from trauma, children who've experienced trauma and adults who've experienced trauma. She was part of the very first, I think maybe she can clarify this, but graduated from college and then helped start a division of CPS that worked with sexually abused children. So she has been doing this for a very long time. And one other little tidbit that I think makes this conversation even more powerful and more impacting is that she herself is an adoptee. So she has experienced what we experience on a day-to-day basis with children that are in care and children who have been adopted. She knows at a deep level what that's like. And so welcome today, Susan Packwood. And I'm just thrilled to have you here. I think you can feel that in my energy. Every time I talk to you on the phone, I'm excited to have you here, and I'm excited to learn from you. And so tell us just a little bit about yourself. I've shared a little bit, but tell the audience a little bit about what you've been doing over the past 40 years in your practice, and then in your personal life, whatever you want to share.
Okay.
Just start with that.
Okay. Actually, as you were introducing me, Tara, I was thinking after CPS, I was in graduate school and went to CPS, scared to death. I moved from San Antonio to Houston, not planning ever to stay in Houston, and now I've been here a long time, since 1980, on a Title 20 stipend back in the day when they gave folks a little bit of help to go to graduate school, and so you didn't get paid to go back to CPS, but you had a commitment to go to CPS after you got some help with graduate school. So I chose Children's Protective Services as where I wanted to work, and I interviewed with Sarah Simon, who was just a great woman who started the child sexual abuse team at CPS in the late 70s, although they certainly had done sexual abuse interventions at that time to intervene with children who had been sexually abused. There was not a team that had just focused on that, and we were some of the first ones in the country that were doing that. And so when
Certainly
I interviewed,
needed.
We did need it, and when I interviewed with her, she was just a great woman. She really was. And I met one of my best friends on our first day of work, and we were so scared. They would send you at that time. It's very different now, but they would send you to the home of the people who were accused of sexually abusing of their children, of course. And you went to the home, and you knocked on the door, and you said, "I need to see this child."
Yeah.
And then you saw the mother, and then you saw the father, the accused perpetrator. And we were such chickens, but we did it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, it was a very different time. The police just said, "This is a family matter" at that time, and you handled it. So we handled it. And then I went on to work. As you said that, I remembered my next job was I worked at CPS for 4 years. And then my next job was at Family Service Center. I ran the Child Sexual Abuse Prevention Program, where we treated the mothers, the fathers, and the children. We had groups based on the Giroretti model years ago. That was a long time ago. But we had groups for everyone. We had groups for perpetrators, we had groups for mothers, and we had groups for children. We had little ones, we had little bitties. I think our youngest children, we had a play therapy group, was 3. So we had 3s to 5s, and then we had latency age children, preteens, and teen groups. And we had mothers groups, and we had offenders groups. These were, of course, only offenders that had admitted,
Sure.
with all volunteers. There were only 6 staff members, and we had 40 people, therapists, volunteers with 6 staff members. Everyone else were professional volunteers. And I don't know how many clients we had, but that was an amazing program. I had forgotten about that until you...
That's encouraging. We should maybe take a look back and see how we were doing things back then.
Yeah, it was, because it was people helping people, and mothers helping mothers about what this was like. Can you imagine what this was like to hear your husband had been sexually abusing your children? This was all familial child sexual abuse. This was not outside the family.
Yeah.
There was
Is that
no one,
typically what happens in most cases?
well, in
a lot of
with,
cases?
when CPS was involved, it was only child within the family.
Sure, that's right. Okay.
There was no stranger abuse
Right.
or neighbor down the street or anything. It was
Okay.
only people within the family, because that's why CPS would be involved.
Right.
Now, the family was not living together. The father always had to leave the home as soon as we intervened, so that, of course, the child's safety was foremost.
Right.
And so that father would leave the home, we would intervene, and he would have to get treatment until we felt like it was safe enough for reunification. So anyway,
Wow.
I did
Yeah.
that until 1988, when I started my own private practice, and continued working with children and families, working with then continued trauma. I've worked with women and men that have been sexually and physically abused most of my career.
Okay. You said on the phone and that children, they're not in a vacuum, and that the parents are so important. It was
Absolutely.
wonderful that you were even working with the mom, because obviously she plays a big role in
Absolutely.
supporting her child and helping her child heal, and then also creating a safe place. So she's got to get to the root of why she wound up in that situation in the first place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, looking at her own history.
Right.
Because many of the moms we worked, I don't know how many, but for 1 out of 3 women has been sexually abused as a child. The statistics are phenomenal.
Right.
So we worked with lots and lots of women. And of course, we were working with lots of kids at that time, so we were also working with the foster parents, with the adoptive parents.
Right.
Not in the groups,
Yeah.
of course.
See why I
because-
was so excited that she was
Oh,
going to
thank
be
you. Thank you.
in your
But-
yes. So
But whatever was in the best interest of the child. So sometimes the children couldn't be returned to their homes because mom didn't believe. The mom, we get a lot of pressure, don't we, as
Yeah,
moms? It's a
right.
hard job.
Yes.
Dads too, but for the mom, if the mom didn't believe, then the child unfortunately went to foster care.
because the mom wouldn't be able to protect.
That's right. She wouldn't be able to protect. So
I always say to my girls, I'll say, when we talk about her birth mom, and I've had these conversations with their birth mom, but if she doesn't learn how to take care of herself, she couldn't take care of you. That's something that we talk about a lot, is that she had to learn how to take care of herself, and someone had to help her. And so we got to learn how to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of our children.
Exactly.
Which I think that's what you're going to talk about a lot today. I looked a little bit at your outline. I snuck a peek. And so,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so how do we? I mean, foster and adoptive parents are taking care of these hurt and damaged and acting out sometimes kiddos, and they oftentimes get triggered if they haven't done their own work.
Right.
Maybe get triggered just from being around difficult kids.
oh, I do. Getting triggered is a big phrase that I use a lot. Like, I'm I'm getting triggered.
Right. Well, it's hard to be a mom or a dad. I think
Sure.
parenting is the very hardest job we'll ever do and the most important job we'll ever do. So how do we take care of ourselves? Because if we can't give to our children, they can't grow up healthy. And we can't give to our children if we don't have some tools
Yeah.
and take care of ourselves and have a wonderful support system. I believe so wholeheartedly in support systems. And so we have to surround ourselves with people who believe in us, with people who support us. Hopefully their grandparents around or, foster grandparents, whether that's official
Yeah.
or just folks that love us and
Yeah.
care for us and will
Yeah.
say, "How you doing today?"
Yeah.
And can I come over and babysit?
Yeah.
Or
That reminds me, Susan, when we first started this foster care journey, Kyle and I were older, like our baby was 17. So that meant all our friends and all our support was the same. They didn't have little children running around, we didn't get invited over as much to people's house for dinner. But I did, not at first, but I was starting to reach the end of my rope, and I I told my friends, I need help. And that was so hard for me. But you know what they said? What do we do? Because you can't just come over to babysit when you have foster care, right? They had to get CPR, they had to take TBRI training.
Absolutely, when they're
they had
foster
all of these things. And so, it was quite a bit. And the paperwork was more daunting than the actual things they had to do. And, background checks and fingerprinting and all this stuff. But they did. And one of my favorite stories, just I won't talk too much because I want all of this to come. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. But this was a neat story, and I want y'all to. This is an important story that I think foster and adoptive parents. It's hard to ask for help. It is so hard. When she talks about building a community, that is hard to do because you have all these messages that go off. Well, you did this to yourself. You brought these kids in. You can figure that out, or hire somebody. Well, you can't just do that either. You've got to have these. There's specifications. So this one of my friends, bunch of my friends did it. I had several. I think I had like 10 people.
That was wonderful.
But one of them, Miss Mary, she got really attached to my daughter Trinity. And she called her Miss Mary. She would take her. She brought them a Christmas tree at Christmas with all the decorations and everything for their playroom. She would just do really neat things for her. And one day, Kyle and I were leaving to go on a date, and Trinity jumped up in Kyle's arms and she said, "I love you, Daddy." She said, "I have 2 mamas." She was speaking of her birth mom and myself. "I have 2 mamas, 2 daddies, and 1 Miss Mary."
Oh, that's
And I thought, and when of course I told that to my friend Miss Mary, that was so moving for her. But the people that came around us and supported us were just as blessed by it as I was. And so I think that's super important. Wouldn't you love to be that Miss Mary? I have 2 mamas and 2 daddies and 1 Miss Mary. So I just want to encourage people with that we got to ask for help. And believe that they're going to be blessed by it. So, okay.
And when you say believe, I think that kind of reminds me of one thing I wanted to talk about in terms of finding joy is setting intentions in believing that something good's going to happen. And I know we've really had a tough time of it. The pandemic,
Yes.
we have difficulty in our country. We have a lot of difficulties. So when we set our intentions, and what I mean by that is thinking about something good can happen. I'm going to wake up this morning and I'm going to say it's going to be a good day. And sometimes that's hard to do,
Sure.
Yeah. But when we set our intentions, or today I'm going to really take a breath and step back when my little one does this, that, or the other.
Right.
Setting the intention means kind of making a plan. I'm setting the intention. It primes our brain, literally. It really primes our brain to be ready for good things to happen. So when we set our intention, it really primes our brain. And I don't know if this is true or not, but every day I've been saying, I'm strong and I'm healthy. And I'm setting my intention to not catch the pandemic, to not catch COVID, knock on wood, if that's wood. I don't know, so far so good. But I'm setting my intention every day. I'm strong and I'm healthy. I'm strong and I'm healthy.
Yeah. What a great thing.
But I don't know.
I'm a big believer in daily affirmations.
Sure.
So I absolutely believe that's, I mean, what else are you going to say? I'm sickly and weak?
Well, but then that allows the fear to get in.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I think continuing to say positive things and to set our intentions to bring some joy into your life. These are difficult times, so how do we keep moving forward and moving towards things that are good? I think a mindfulness practice, and I don't know how much people know about mindfulness.
Let's talk about that. Because
Okay. So mindfulness means just really being in the moment right now, where we are right now. And I'll tell you, right now is about the only thing we have, is the present moment. And it is absolutely practice. It's not the past, it's not the future, it's being right here, right now. And what a wonderful gift you can give your child.
Yeah.
If you were on the floor playing with them, oh, what a hard thing to do. And you were not to play with them. That's a
Sure.
fun thing to do. But be there with them.
Sure. Without your phone.
And not, yes,
Yeah,
without
your
your,
phone.
thank you
Yeah.
for saying that, without your phone. And be right there playing with them, looking in their face and playing with them and listening to them and even mirroring what they're saying. That's a good way to be mindful and to be present, is mirroring with what someone says, but not be thinking about what you're making for dinner, not be worrying about what you said to your husband earlier, not be worrying about what's on TV or what has happened that is worrying you. That's really very hard to do, but being mindful. I just had a little medical procedure this week, and I had just was preparing this talk and was talking about being mindful. And it was talking about being in the present no matter what's happening, if it's
Right.
uncomfortable or whatever.
Right.
And so I was really practicing that. I was sitting
you were
in what's
uncomfortable?
called the dark room. It was
Yeah.
something with my eyes.
Right.
And so I was in the dark room. And actually it was really quite helpful, but I absolutely made myself breathe through it, just breathe and feel my body in the chair, feel my arms on the arm rests in the chair. And just breathe through it and just notice where I was. And it really was very helpful and stop any thoughts about fear or about what was going to happen next or whatever. And so I was really practicing doing that in that situation.
So that's practicing mindfulness in the moment. And I told you about some acupuncture. I do that same thing
Yes,
because it's painful at times, you know,
Okay.
because you have to, so I'm breathing through and feeling like, you know, so how though do you practice, and I know you're probably going to say, I recommend this, a daily mindfulness practice. So I can practice that in the moment, like when I'm chewing. This is hard for me.
Sure.
I eat really fast, but slowing down. You know, being mindful of things that I'm doing, whether I'm cooking, whether I'm cleaning, whether I'm walking,
Sure.
exercising. But then, is there also a set time of the day that you practice that?
So that would be mindfulness meditation.
Yes. Tell
Sure.
us about. Can you walk
Sure.
us? Like, let's give, because this is new to me, and I'm fairly well read in all of this, so I can imagine there's people out there going, "What is this?" So, will you walk us through something that would be maybe really simple way to start, or?
Sure, I'm not really an expert
Okay,
at
that's okay.
mindfulness,
You're
but,
more of an expert than me, and you're probably more of an expert than the rest of us.
Okay,
so tell
but
us.
actually, I like to use an app called, just a minute, Insight Timer.
Okay, that's what I have.
And I find that really helpful.
Okay.
The reason I like Insight Timer is because you can meditate from 5 minutes to 60 minutes, probably 90 minutes. I certainly couldn't sit still for 90 minutes. But I can for 5 minutes and for 15 minutes.
Okay.
I find it helpful on Insight Timer to use some of the guided meditations, but really for mindfulness meditation, probably you should use something without words, without a guided meditation. I have a friend named Mickey Fine that does a lot of mindfulness work, and she's doing some wonderful work with children.
Okay.
She just wrote a curriculum for children in the school
That's
to do
wonderful.
mindfulness
Yeah.
meditations with children.
Where could we find her? Because I can put
Probably
that in.
just look online,
Okay.
Mickey Fine, Fine.
Okay. Mickey, M-I-K,
Micki.
M-I-C-K-I. Okay. We'll put that in the show notes so that people
Okay.
can find her.
Okay, and she does some wonderful things with meditation, and I
Okay.
know she's doing. She's written a book on mindfulness for children.
Okay.
And so
That's exciting.
she's kind of more the guru than I am on mindfulness.
Okay.
But so mindfulness meditation is
You know-
really helpful, and we can help our kids do that.
How would we do that? So my girls, they know that I do a mindfulness meditation twice a day. They don't see me in the morning, but in the afternoon, they know. I say, I'm going to do my meditation. They don't come in the room. But I haven't really done much with them on it yet. Other than I know the other day, they know it, and they know what it's for, because I was grumpy in the afternoon. My husband had been out of town, and I said something to my husband about being grumpy, and she said, "Did you do your meditation?"
Oh,
I
no,
said-
that's funny.
My 8-year-old said that, and I said, "I didn't do it this afternoon." Like they can tell a difference. But what could we do with our kids? Is there something on Insight Timer for that?
I'm not sure, but there
Okay.
might be. But
I
I
bet
think
there
Mickey
is.
Fine definitely has
Mickey
a book.
Fine. Okay, I'm gonna look
definitely
her up.
has a book on meditation for children.
Okay.
And so I think that would be good. I think mostly it would be helping them learn to breathe and slow down. So let's sit, maybe if they nap or just rest in the afternoon, let's listen to some soft music and pay attention to our breath and just rest and watch our tummies go up when we breathe and go down and just think of a butterfly maybe going over. I don't know. That just came to my
No, that's
mind.
good.
I don't know. But,
Yeah.
something where we can just slow down and pay attention to breathing and pay attention to just what our body feels like right now. But I would read the book and see.
Yeah.
what
All
that-
right, I'm gonna check that one out for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's a worthy. I started that on March 18th of 2018.
Uh-huh.
And it was a very important day because I knew I needed it. And I just said, this is going to be part of my life. And it's been profound.
Great.
I actually
great.
feel like it's been part of giving me the creativity and the space that I've needed to start this.
Uh-huh.
Because I've always wanted to
Wonderful.
do this, but I haven't. And I know there's a lot of research out that shows that it truly changes your brain.
Uh-huh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about loving kindness in a minute. And Sharon Salzberg has some wonderful books. There's a book called Loving Kindness that Sharon Salzberg has written, and so that also is really helpful. And
Tell us what loving kindness is.
okay, well, loving kindness
imagine.
is a practice of. Again, I'm not an expert on any of these things. I'm a student, definitely a student.
Are we all students?
Right, but
I
these
bet they
are-
are too.
Yes.
At some point?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
they would say that. But these are things that really help me get centered,
Okay.
that really help me come back to my center, to not have a monkey mind, because I really do. I really could do. I'm very good at doing lots of things at once. And so I need to come back to center often. And so
Me too.
that's really helpful. But loving kindness are phrases that you say, and you say them to yourself first. May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be free of danger, and may I be open to my own true nature. There's several varieties of what you say, but may I be happy, healthy, free of danger, and open to my own true nature are the ones I say. First, you say them to yourself.
Okay.
That's
That's,
an-
that's important, right? We say it to
Right.
ourselves.
And then you say them about someone you love. So this might be a time you would say these loving kindness phrases when you're stressed or in a meditation or whatever. Then you say them about someone you love, maybe your husband or your child. May she be happy. May she be healthy. May she be free of danger. May she open to her own true nature. Then you say it about a neutral person. the person in the grocery store. I'm so worried about all those people in the grocery store that are not protected against the virus, and I'm really worried about them.
Sure.
Anyway, so may they be happy, may they be healthy, may they be free of danger, may they open to their own true nature. And then you say it about someone that's a difficult person to you. And that is it is a wonderful, wonderful meditation, and you'll have to really try it.
Yeah.
And I'd really like your audience to try it.
Okay.
Anyone that's difficult in your life. I've said it about political figures. I've said it about someone that I feel resentment towards. And you might need to say it many times a day or every day. And you can't believe how you'll begin to shift yourself. And you know, someone out there may be saying, oh, that's a silly Pollyanna way of looking at life. Oh, that silly positive social worker, because that's my training is I am a licensed social worker.
Right.
And I am kind of a Pollyanna positive person.
Funny
but that's
you use Pollyanna. I say
helped
it.
me get through
That's
life.
definitely another phrase I use is the Pollyanna. I watched all Pollyanna. Yeah.
I'm just laughing.
The Glad game.
No, I'm laughing because we had Annie. What's the name of the song we were playing yesterday? The sun will come out.
Oh, that's from Annie, yeah.
We
That's
listened to
right.
it on our little, what do you call that thing? That you tell it what to play?
Oh, Alexa.
Alexa. We told Alexa to play it on repeat yesterday.
Yeah. We need that song
We had
right
that
now.
on repeat yesterday.
Yes.
Anyway, no, but you'd be surprised how you begin shifting how you think of that. And I'm a big believer that we all have a good heart in some place in us.
Right.
And it'll begin to make you feel differently about people.
Right.
When you
That's
do
good.
that meta phrase, it's called meta, that loving kindness meditation about someone
Yeah.
that is
And you've
difficult
given it to
to you.
yourself first so that you can
Right.
give it out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's really good. Somebody
So-
else talks about loving, Kristen Neff. Kristen Neff. I think she's self-compassion. Maybe that's not, might be a
Certainly.
little different.
Yes.
Okay.
No, self-compassion.
Okay.
It's absolutely. That's a self-compassion. Excuse me. Let me get a
Yeah,
little
sure.
water.
Go ahead.
That's a self-compassion practice, loving kindness.
I like it. I like it. So we've talked about. Let me just see if I got this.
Yes, thank you.
We've talked about a little bit. I told a little bit about building that community. We talked about being mindful
Excuse me.
and then / you can venture into the meditation part of that, which I think is super important. Those two together, and then we've talked about loving kindness. Is that so far right?
Right.
Okay.
Oh, and then about choosing joy and trying to find more joyful moments. Back to my notes for a moment.
Sure.
A couple of things. Set a phrase, and I think I said that, like, it's going to be a great day. I can get through today.
Right.
And that might be one you need to say when you have a lot of little kids around. I'm going to make it through today. We're going to have a
Right.
good day. That's really actually quite helpful. It is
Right.
to me.
Right.
It is helpful, and I think it's helpful when you teach your kids that.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to make it through today. It's all going to
right.
be okay.
Right.
We're going to make it through today.
Yeah, that's so so that's the other thing. A daily, what did you call it? You called it not affirmation,
Intention. An intention.
Setting an intention for
That's
the day.
right. Set an
And you know
intention
what,
for the
Susan?
day.
I need to stop telling myself I can't do this, but
Exactly.
Phew, that's good. I just caught myself. I was about to say, I always tell Kyle, I cannot get up after the girls. Like, they cannot wake me up. I like to be up. I need time before they get up. But on occasion, it doesn't work that way. Yesterday morning, I got up at 6 o'clock. I sat down, I drank my hot water, whatever. I was doing my little ritual. At 6:10, I looked behind me, and there was one. Oh, but it can turn if I don't, you see what I'm saying? See what I did? I went
Sure.
to that. I can't do this. I needed
I
my
have to be
time.
perfect.
Yes,
I have to be a perfect mom and get up before them. How fun it would be if they came and jumped on the bed with you.
Well, you know what I
and
did?
snuggled with you.
This is what happened. So it was my older one who a lot of times won't let me snuggle with her as much. I sat there for a few minutes and I was like, feeling sorry for myself for a second. And then I said, I'm going to use this. And I pulled her close and covered us up, and we just laid there. And then she started talking to me. But it worked. But typically, that's not what I typically do. My brain will typically go to, I'm getting off on the wrong foot. You know what I mean? So there I have,
Exactly.
instead of, okay, how can I shift this? How can I choose joy?
Right.
How can I
exactly.
shift this to make this the right foot?
Right. And if we remember, and I'm a lot older than you are, and as I look at my life, all those directions that I thought worked that way, oh my goodness, I could just cry thinking of this way was so much more beautiful. They were so much
I'm
more
gonna take
beautiful.
that in.
Please remember that. Sometimes that path that we say we have to go on, that's not the one that the universe, God, whomever wanted us to be on. It's this one. And we would never have seen it had we not been just a little bit more open to relax and say, come on up in the bed with me and let's talk.
Yeah. We all need to feel that for a minute.
Right.
That's right.
I don't have to be perfect. I wish I had known that when I was 27 and first having kids. Whew, it's hard to be a mommy. It's
We don't
very
have to
hard
be
to be a
perfect.
mommy.
That's right.
Absolutely. And I think as an adoptee, that is one thing that I've had to struggle with is letting go of perfection and letting go of, doing things just right. I don't know that comes with being an adoptee, but it came with my being an adoptee. So I had to let go of being a perfectionist, and it popped up mostly as being a mother in motherhood.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For me too. I think it's probably because it's it feels like the most important thing ever, and
Well, it did to me. It was
Yeah.
to me. And still is.
sure,
My family is the most important thing to me.
of course.
So,
That's good advice.
yeah. And one other thing in choosing joy is remembering, and maybe some in those meditative moments, I was thinking about how easy it is for me as a retiree, or almost retiree, I'm still working one day a week, to just sit down and remember some lovely moments and just kind of think about them and memorize them. And I know busy moms don't always have that time to do that, but I thought, okay, when can they do it? At night before you fall asleep, unless you just pass out.
Sure.
But
That happens.
to just think about some lovely moments, whether it's of the day that you've had, or it might be way back when
Yeah.
you were a kid,
Yeah.
or with your husband, or
Yeah.
any time, and memorize that moment. Memorize those time. It grows brain cells. What wires? That was
what fires together, wires together.
That's right. I
Yeah.
sent that to you
Yeah.
as a takeaway moment. What fires together, wires together. So what we pay attention to makes neural connections in
Yeah.
our brains. So
Right.
when we really pay attention to those lovely moments, they really make
Yeah. I noticed that
connections.
my daughter she's very tender-headed, and it's taking us a very long time for her. She would get so angry at me when I would try to brush her hair, but now she says, "Can I hug you?" And I really think about the firing and wiring together, because I know the more emotion, the more connection, the more it's being,
Absolutely.
put together. And so we do this thing, and she'll hug me. She's hugging me tight, she's trying to, and her hair's right here, and I'm brushing, and I'll just
that's
keep
a good
affirming
idea.
her, like, you have gotten so brave. You have gotten so brave, and just trying to always touch her, and it works. When I'm not frustrated, when I slow down and remember and be mindful that I'm not just brushing her hair, I'm actually helping her rewire that brain. It's powerful.
Yeah.
But when I was a mom early on, I wasn't even aware of this kind of thinking. I just needed the lunches made and the bags packed and the kids in the car.
Right.
Like, that's just all I thought about. you know? And I'm so grateful to get a second chance.
No kidding.
You
no
know,
kidding.
to do things a little bit different and a little bit older brain and more wisdom and
Absolutely.
you know.
I know. My poor kids, I was practicing on them in my 20s and early 30s.
I always tell my son, you know, it was hard being a firstborn. I was a firstborn too. Thanks for letting me practice on you.
Right.
So,
Right.
anyway, yeah, this is very good.
Good.
Very good.
So a few other things. Certainly gratitude. Having a gratitude practice, things that we're thankful for, and noticing, oh my goodness, I was thinking about this week, and I just was in the kitchen walking into the living room, and I just saw the shadows coming in from one window, and I love gardening, so I saw some plants from outside. The sunlight was shining on them, and it was making a shadow. I have a lot of light in my house, and it was making a shadow on one of the walls of all the plants. And oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. And I just and I guess that was two things. It was mindfulness,
Yeah, it
because I
was.
was really paying attention to that, and then I was so grateful to be able to have this beautiful, I believe, house that I've lived in for a long
Yes.
time, but
Yeah.
plants that I love, and a window that I love, and sun that I love. So I was just so grateful, and I just stood there for just a minute and just thought, I'm so grateful to be able to live where I live and have plants in my garden and be
Yeah.
able to have the life that I have, you know, despite difficulties,
Yeah.
whatever the difficulties, you
Yeah.
know, to be grateful for those things.
Yeah.
And I think when we get too busy and we're running from here to there, we forget to be grateful. And it's hard. I know when you're busy, it's really hard, but just to even take a moment to see that little blonde, brown, whatever child we have, and just look at that little nose or that little hair or those little toes or even that little scream sometimes, you know,
Yeah.
and be grateful not just for the child, but for everything we have.
Yeah.
And even if we can, to journal about it or write it, or just, again, when you're laying down at night, to think about what is it I'm grateful for today. That can really take us out of the have-tos. What do I have to do today? Just think about, what am I grateful for? And again, it expands our consciousness and really helps us be more present in our lives and enjoy our lives more.
Yeah. Man, that's good. I don't think anyone would argue with you on that one.
Yeah, it's hard to do, but
It is. It's almost like mindfulness and gratitude go together.
they do. They really do.
Because you have to, if you want to be grateful, you gotta look. You gotta pay attention.
You do.
You know, because if you don't, you're all the stuff. The world's just throwing stuff at us all the time, and just naturally, I don't just go to that. I don't go. My husband is more so that, but I don't. You know, it's very important. This is
Yeah.
good reminders. Yeah. What else you got there?
And you know, you certainly can help your kids learn that.
Oh yeah.
You can
I
help you
almost
learn.
feel like they teach me that. My littlest one, she is the most grateful child. She just always grateful. She just oozes gratefulness. She does.
How wonderful.
She is. She tells us thank you all the time for things.
And you know, I love to do this, and I love to help parents do this. And how wonderful to have heard this as a child.
Yeah.
To just, when you're sitting in the car, to even tell her, you know what I really like about you? I like how much you always tell me how much
do.
you like stuff. I really like that
Yeah.
about you. Or to say, you know what I like about you? I like how much fun you like to have out in the backyard when you're swinging. I mean, just to notice. When you notice something about a child, make it
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
make
yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
But when you're
No.
laughing inside, or when you're laughing with your husband, did
Yeah.
you see how cute that
Yeah.
was, or whatever? Tell them. Tell them. Or your husband, or your friends, or whatever. You know what I like about you? When you just comment on something, it doesn't have to be this big, huge compliment. Just to tell people, you know what I like about you? Whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
How would you have liked to have heard that from your mom or dad?
Incredible. Yeah. And some kids it's easier to do than others.
Sure. The hard ones tell them that.
It
And
is.
think about, now that one you're going to might have to think about, what do I like about this child, and find something.
Yeah. When you start to take notes, and we used to watch this show called Criminal Minds, and there was a group, they were the behavior analyst unit, I think. And I think about parenting sometimes in that way, that if you can just be watching, you can see what's really going on with your child so much, We're just looking and noticing. And sometimes I teach myself through teaching my child. Like, I know I'm really grateful that I can pull my car into the garage. That's something I'm really grateful for. I can pull my car in there on a cold day or a wet day. And so I'll say that. I'm so thankful we have a garage that we can pull inside and just walk into the house. And I'm teaching myself that, but they're listening.
Of course, whatever you do, they're learning. They're learning how to be a grown-up woman by watching you. And
it's really good.
A grown-up person, absolutely.
Sometimes we can be teaching ourselves things while teaching them, Like if I start to get worried or frustrated, I'll just start to talk to myself, like, oh, everything's figure-outable. I learned that from a lady named Marie Forleo. Everything's figure-outable. And the girls listen, and every once in a while I'll hear them say, we got lost one day in a neighborhood looking at Christmas lights. She's, well, everything's figure-outable.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
So I think teaching ourselves at the same time, right?
Right.
That's good, isn't it, Susan? I did a good job on that one.
That's really good. That's wonderful. In fact, that kind of leads me to the hardest part I'm going to talk about is how do we get through difficult times?
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of the points, that we really can figure out anything. It doesn't seem like it at the moment, does it?
No.
That we can always figure it out. And that the sun really does come out. It peeks through during difficult times. It sure doesn't seem like it. But the sun is always going to peek out a little bit.
Yeah.
Even during difficult times.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are in really difficult times right now.
Absolutely.
And the stress from the world, it can't help but to get into our homes and
fear. Children are afraid right now. And they need us to let them know things are going to be okay, and you are going to be okay. Mommy and Daddy are going to be okay. Our country's going to be okay. But most of all, you're going to be okay. We're always going to take care of you.
That's really
even if you don't feel it always, to know that we are going to be okay, and that the children are going to be okay, and it's all going to work out.
Yeah. Yeah, everything's going to be okay. I remember I have to tell myself that, because I don't know if you knew anything about the Enneagram. Do you do the Enneagram? Have you heard of that?
I heard you talk about it on your podcast, and I actually have read about it, and
it's interesting.
You know which one I am. I'm like Kyle.
You're a 7.
Probably
the optimistic one.
I'm definitely the optimist.
Yeah. I'm the 6, which is the one that's safe, always scanning for safety. Making sure everything's okay, and I have to talk to myself out loud a lot. Everything's going to be okay. Or music helps me with that. There's a song that says, it's a funny guy, Paul Thorne, he'll say, everything's gonna be all right. And I after my dad passed away, I listened to that CD about 1,000,000 times, just again and again and again. Everything's gonna be all right.
And maybe I'm an optimist because I do that a lot. I mean, I do encourage myself a lot. And I think we need to encourage ourselves just like that.
Yeah.
So, and that's another skill during difficult times, that we do need to encourage ourselves. And that's why we need our support system too, so much. And I think I told you this on the phone. As an adoptee, I hope that those people who are fosters, foster parents and adoptive parents, that they're around people that really support fostering and adoption, and not people that kind of pity folks that are adopted. I think I told you that on the
Yeah,
phone.
to tell everybody else, because I was very interesting. I understood what you were saying, but I hadn't given words or thought of that much.
It's, I guess, just as now, remember, I'm a lot older than a lot of the people that were adopted, like in the 70s or 80s. I was adopted in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Well, just in the 40s.
Yeah.
Just only in the 40s, in the late 40s. But, you know, you didn't talk about adoption. My parents told me you don't tell anybody you adopted for whatever reason. So there was some shame that went with that. So I didn't tell anybody till I got in my 20s ever that I was adopted. But I noticed that when I did, and even today, even still today, there's plenty of people that are just fine and great with it. I have wonderful friends that are fine with that, but I still can tell somebody and they'll look at me with pity like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, poor you. Kind of like,
Right.
they don't say it.
Right.
But like, oh, kind of poor you. You know, and I think I told you on the phone, don't make jokes about, he's
Yeah.
the adopted one, you know,
Yeah.
he must have been adopted.
Yeah.
That's not a funny joke to
Yeah.
people who've been
Right.
adopted,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
As if it's less than to be adopted.
No.
So you don't want to hang out with people that act like that.
Sure.
You want to be, for your kids' sake, and hopefully for yours too.
Yeah.
So anyway, your support system needs to be around people that are wholeheartedly believe in adoption and believe that everybody's just fine,
Right.
just the same, just that we were all born with the wonderful spirit inside of us and grow up in that same way.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah,
that
that's
should be
really
your
good.
support system.
Yeah, that, I don't think we can ever say enough about our support system, whether that's your spouse or your partner or you know, but it needs more than that. You know, you need more than that.
Right. And you need to be, I've got to shift,
Yeah,
sorry,
go
Kyle. And you've got to, obviously, I'm
Yeah.
passionate about this. You have to find people that you can talk to during difficult times, whether it's your spouse, your best friend, a support group. I have found this wonderful Facebook support group for adult adoptees.
Okay.
And I've just been having a lot of fun with it. Some of the posts I got to just pass by.
Sure.
They're, you know, not ones that I necessarily agree with.
Right.
But lots of them are very helpful.
Right.
So I've talked to several of my friends that have spouses or friends, family members that are going through health crises. And there's a Facebook group for
that,
everything,
right.
it seems. And so they've gone on to go on to a Facebook group that is specific to their family's problem. And that's something that's been helpful to them. You've got to be careful with that.
Sure.
And, you know, if something doesn't speak to you or if it's not making you feel good, get off of it.
Right.
You know, so only hang out with support groups that make you feel good
Right.
and feel
Support.
supported.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's one, I even went on one, I'm embarrassed to say, but went going gray gracefully.
Oh.
When I went from coloring my hair to going gray, there was a support group for that on
Yeah.
Facebook.
I'll have to find that one. I'll still color mine.
But it was fun. Now that one
Yeah.
was fun, and
Yeah,
people
funny, too, I
posted.
bet. You'll have-
it was
yeah,
fun, and
yeah.
people posted pictures and
Yeah.
etc. But anyway,
Well, you look beautiful.
oh, thank you.
I
It's
like
been
it.
so much easier and so much
Yeah,
more fun.
yeah.
I've been gray for about 4 years,
That's
but
good.
it was a pain in the drain to
Yeah.
color your hair.
I understand.
But anyway, so get a support group and talk about your feelings, just like you help
Yeah.
your children.
Right.
Talk about their feelings, name them, name your feelings, share your feelings, be able to let out your feelings when you're going through difficult
Right.
times. I also wanted to talk about the second dart. I don't know if you've ever heard
No.
that term.
No.
So a difficult time, we might get the first dart,
Okay.
something bad that happens. Well, we often give ourselves that second dart. You were talking about how you do that.
We
Oh,
give
no.
it to ourselves.
You give it to yourself.
Okay.
Oh, no, I didn't get up. I didn't get up and help my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Or a bad thing happens. Oh, no, something terrible is happening. Oh, how am I going to deal with this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or why didn't I do this? Or I'm so bad. Or you get sick. Oh, it must be my fault I got sick.
Mm-hmm.
How come I didn't
Do
eat
XYZ.
more healthily? whatever, that's the second dart, okay? That second dart doesn't help us. We need to not give ourselves the second dart. So think about if we get the first dart, which might be something bad happening, we need to use all these practices I've been talking about and not give ourselves that second dart. And
Don't add insult to injury.
exactly, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. So
Yeah.
love ourselves and comfort ourselves and have empathy for ourselves and be kind to ourselves, as kind as we would be to our best friend or
Yeah.
to our child.
You know, that's just not something I was taught growing up, is to be kind to myself.
No.
I don't know if that's a
Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, just really, really, because, well, we do what, more is caught than taught, and I saw my parents just, they were really hard on themselves, and they were wonderful, wonderful people, but, if something went wrong, my mom immediately blamed herself and was hard on herself, and so, that's what I learned, is to, if something's falling apart, it's because I didn't do something right, and
And that self-talk, just seeing that stop sign, stop, never say something ugly to yourself. It has certainly been my rule to myself, just always stop. Do not say something negative to yourself.
yeah.
I mean, we women like to say, oh, I'm so fat today, I look bad, my hair's not right, whatever. Stop.
Stop.
That doesn't help. And you know who's listening?
Everybody.
Those little
yeah.
people.
Right.
And have you ever heard your little girls
Oh.
or boys
Yeah.
say,
My
in the
son,
mirror, oh,
my
I'm
son.
so fat, or,
He'll say,
whatever.
I'm so stupid. He'll make a mistake, and I was like, stop that, But he probably heard that from me. He's 21 now, so he was in my first round of parenting. So he does say that, and I'm always telling him, no, don't say that, stop that, because he's not. He's brilliant, So yeah, very good, Susan. Mothering ourselves, because we didn't all have this. I mean, it's just we're all learning. My mom was learning. My mom
Absolutely. Our moms, I mean, I can't imagine my mom. Even I can't even remember her saying a good thing about herself, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I can remember her saying a lot of bad things about herself, but I can hardly ever remember her saying a good thing about herself, which is sad.
Yeah. I think it's important we say, I'm just remembering myself right in the throes of foster care. And, if you look at your calendar, if you look at the calendar, the day planner, which I still use a paper one, but of a foster mom, you have therapy, you have a clinician from your agency that comes once a month. You have your CPS worker that comes once a month. You have visitation at least twice a month in most cases, which would, for me, required an hour and a half drive one way, 2 visitations because you had 2 different parents. So you're talking about your whole day, a play therapist, occupational therapist, all these things that, medications, if they're on medications, and if you've got a sibling group, you've got double all that.
Wow.
And so to do these things. And that's on top of all of the life that they were living before these children entered their home.
Right.
It is a lot.
I guess they're not working outside the home.
Well, a lot of them are.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
but and the kids are going to daycare, so your meals, all these things, and it is hard to slow down enough to even do one of these things.
Right.
What would you say to us if there was one thing that we could just walk away from this, like practice, to put into place? I think I know what you're going to say, but I'm not going to say it until after you say it. Oh, I wish I could write it down.
I don't know.
The one thing.
Take care of yourself. Well, one thing I was going to talk about more about letting go, about how to let go of things,
Yeah.
is I believe the road to happiness and relief is trying to let go. I mean, you can't let go of the things you have to do,
Sure.
but you can let go of the control. That's letting go of the control. Oh, yeah,
I'm going to take another deep breath on that one.
Yeah, that if I did have one thing to do in terms of doing my parenting over, it would definitely be that.
Let go of control.
Is trying to let go of the control and turn things over to God, the universe, whatever. Is I can't control the things that are uncontrollable.
Sure.
Of course. I still have to have the day planner. I still have to go to the CPS meetings and all those things. But in terms of controlling the uncontrollable, and that's what I meant about the road that's going this way, that I'm going to control it, and I'm going to make sure my kids do this, that, or the other, or do this in school, or that I make sure everything goes just according to plan.
Yeah.
Ha, ha, ha. And this is the path that leads to perfection and happiness that I didn't even know was there.
Yeah.
You
You
know?
was just sitting there. You were
It's-
just you were
Because
could have just stumbled into it.
plan is going this way, for
Right.
goodness sakes, and everybody and everything is going to need to go this way.
Right.
But somebody else had this perfect plan going this way. But if I ever let go, which I finally learned to do, we could go that way. But when I hold on with a tight fist, I can't even see this path. But when I can let go and say, okay, I'm going to let go and try to just take the day as it is, be in the moment, let go and control, all of a sudden, this amazing answer comes. I don't know if you've had that experience.
Yes, I get glimpses of that. Yes, I do. More and more. It's almost like this was the school of getting that,
Right.
trying so hard fruitlessly, or you're not getting the results for so many years. And I think that I don't know if everybody has that. I know for me, because my childhood had some loss in it, that definitely that was part of it. I wanted to recreate something, and I wanted it to be perfect, and that's not
Right.
possible.
That's what we have to let go of, is that perfection. Just what you were saying. I think you gave such a good example of, I want to get up, I want to be perfect, I want to, for some reason, well, probably because I struggle with eating, myself, as probably half of the women in the world,
Sure.
if not 90% of how we're supposed to look as women and how
Sure.
we're supposed to eat as women, et
Right.
cetera. And, so my kids were supposed to eat in a certain way, but they didn't want to eat what I wanted them to eat
Sure.
when they were babies. It was
Sure.
mostly when they were babies. It's like, no, they didn't want to eat all these healthy foods. They didn't
Sure.
want to eat at all.
Right.
And it's like, oh, those were the things that just made me want to go nuts.
That you needed
You
to let
know.
go of.
Yeah, that I had to let go of. Of course,
Yeah.
because that's the one thing kids
Yeah.
really can control, whether they're going to eat or not.
Right. Yeah, you can't make them go to sleep, and you can't make them eat.
That's exactly
You
right.
can make a bedtime, and you can cook the meal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's right. That's good. That's very good. Thank you for being here.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for
It's
being
been
here.
fun.
Thank you. And I hope that you all are encouraged, and my heart would be that you wouldn't feel like, oh, one more thing. I don't want anyone to walk away feeling like I can never do all this. Of course not. We can't do all of these things at one time. This is just a little bit. And so I hope that you could just take maybe one or two things and just really make it a habit for, 14 days, 21 days, whatever. Just say, hey, for 21 days, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to say, you know what? And my husband's behind there. Honey, I'm going to do that. I'm going to wake up with that good intention. He is so good at that. He is so good at that. And so, anyway, I hope that you can do that. Just take one thing and be proud of yourself for working on that one thing. And that kind of brings me, I brought today, someone suggested that I do this, but these are the original, I talk about the Wisdom from the Well cards. And so I wanted to show you some of mine. They are very aged. And this is not nearly all of them, but like this one says, you are the most influential player on this team. If you walk around defeated, they will too. And this one was from Meet the Robinsons. From failing, you learn. From success, not so much, if you remember that movie. And then this was another one of my favorites right here. When mom changes, so do their children. So this is what I do when I'm struggling. I either will seek something out, or most of the time these things just come to me from people like you, Susan, or people that have been parenting longer than me, and they can look in me and they say, you know what, have you tried this? Or this is something I say to myself. A lot of times it came from a book. One Adele Faber was somebody I read when my boys were little, and she has a phrase that says, when trouble arises, we don't blame, we look for a solution. And that was so powerful for me, because I could just feel myself spiraling sometimes, and I don't know what to do, and I just throw my arms up in the air and quit. And you know what? It's empowering to say, when trouble arises, let's find a solution. And I still say that. I said that to my son today. He had worked really hard to arrange his work schedule so that he could go to track practice when it's about to start and work. He's a gymnastics coach. And so then guess what happened? He'd worked hard with his boss, and she had worked with other people to fill his classes. And the track coach changed the track practice. And he was fit to be tied. I mean, upset, angry, mad. He wanted to be at track practice. He's a great runner. And you know what I said? All right, Carter. I had to take a deep breath too, because I knew how hard he'd worked. And I said, I'd be mad too. I had to validate his feelings first and say, you know what? I get it. That'd make me mad too, but you know what? There's a solution, and you're going to find it. And when problems arise, we look for solutions. So I'm coaching myself all the time, but they're listening. Because the first thing I wanted to say is, calm down. But that wouldn't have been helpful to him. Right. So we have to, this is what I do to help myself. I read and then I post. And so if you don't understand what I'm talking about at the end of each week, these are the Wisdom from the Well cards right here. This was one from Nicole Bender. Feelings are indicators, not dictators. And I post this up. This was one, choose vulnerability, surrender the what ifs, and embrace the what is. That's kind of what we've been talking about today, right? These are the Wisdom from the Well cards. Post them. You can print them out. They're free, and they're so cute. Aren't they cute? They're way prettier than what I used to have. Don't you think?
Sure. Yeah, I saw. I see.
So you can post them, download them. If you sign up on the website, on the Mama's Well website, they just come to you automatically in my weekly email. So I hope that you're using them. I hope they're beneficial. If these aren't beneficial to you, write down whatever it is. Someone messaged me last week and said, hey, I wrote down your love and fear phrase, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but they posted on their computer. And so that's how we get a little better. We just get a little better each day by affirming ourselves and taking what someone else has learned and is working for them and implementing that in our life. And that's all I know to do. And so I just want to encourage you to do that, and then take the hand of someone else. Pass this podcast along to another friend, and y'all practice together. Like, hey, I'm practicing gratitude, and I'm really grateful for you. Would you help me with that? And you just create the community that Susan was talking about. We need it as parents, and especially as foster and adoptive parents. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I did. I'm going to have to listen to it several times because there was a lot there. And anyway, join us again next week. I'm certainly glad that you're here and that you're listening, and I love getting all of your feedback. It's encouraging to me. Because it can feel like nobody's there, but you know what? You're there. I'm hearing from you, and you're there. So thank you for listening. Encourage one another, and we'll see you next week.
Mama's Well.